Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the FinCity.Tokyo 2021 Global Networking event. My name is Lance Trong, and I'll be your facilitator for this event today, which will provide an update regarding initiatives to both support and attract foreign financial companies to Tokyo. These supports being provided by both the government and the private sectors. It will also be an opportunity to share stories from foreign financial companies who have successfully entered Japan already. In terms of our agenda today, we will have opening remarks, followed by 3 speeches from both public and private sector organizations who provide services to foreign financial companies. This will be followed by a panel discussion featuring foreign companies who have already entered Japan. And then after that, we will provide an update regarding upcoming programs provided by FinCity.Tokyo. From 5 p.m, we'll be conducting Q&A and networking sessions. So as stated previously, Q&A sessions will be conducted at the end of the event today, not at the end of each session. And as mentioned, audience members will have an opportunity to directly ask questions and exchange contact details with our speakers and other attendees during the networking session. So without further ado, let me please hand over to Mr. Keiichi Aritomo, who is the Executive Director of FinCity.Tokyo, for opening remarks. Thank you, Mr. Aritomo.
Hello. Let me take over. Hold on. Bear with me, I'm trying to share the slide. Used to work. Shirakawa-san, would you be able to share the slide?
Of course, we will do.
I was able to do this, but for some reasons, setting has changed. Oh, hold on. Let me. No, this is the old version, actually. I made some edits. Hold on. Can you, let me try again.
Aritomo-san, shall I share the screen with you?
Yes.
Okay, just a moment.
Yeah, setting has changed and I cannot share. I'm no longer allowed to share.
Okay, this one, right?
Yes. Yep. Okay. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining this event. I'm glad to see how many people are joining. More than 120 people participating, 134 people participating in this event. My name is Keiichi Aritomo. I'm the one of the co-founders and executive director of the board for FinCity.Tokyo. So taking this opportunity, I like to briefly explain who we are as a co-host, host of this event. So next, please. Next page, please. Okay, so this is a kind of vision and mission of our organization. So based upon the Global Financial City Tokyo vision published in November 2017, there are quite a few items on the plate, as you see. But most importantly, on the far right corner, we are basically utilizing finance to address social issues, right? So finance itself is not our objective. And from a sector point of view, we are focusing on asset management and fintech, largely because of our social issues, right? We have funding gap for retirement and also shrinking population, right? And low interest rate. So we have to quickly upgrade our investment management capabilities here in Japan. And at the same time, despite our Japan is quite advanced from a technology point of view, but for finance, we are still lagging behind for technology advancement. So basically, we have been doing three things: dissemination, sharing information with key stakeholders, both domestically and internationally, and we obtain feedback from the audience, including yourself today. And then, based upon the feedback we are receiving, we put together our policy recommendations and trying to positively influence our government leadership, including political leaders as well. So those are the key things we have been doing. Next page, please. Okay, so this page shows some of the key misunderstanding about who we are. People often think that we are one of industry associations, right, representing best interest for financial institutions. We are not. Our most important beneficiary of our activities are Japanese nationals and also international citizens living in Japan as well, right? So finance is simply a tool. It's not an objective to circulate funding through our end-to-end supply chain, including small and medium enterprises. And second misunderstanding is that we are foreigner-oriented because we have been attracting and inviting, enticing foreign firms and foreign talents. But it's not necessarily the case. What we want to have is more diversified and talented financial community here in Japan, here in Tokyo. And third misunderstanding is that we are promoting policies for high net worth individuals, largely because we have been addressing a lot of issues around taxation and adjusting some tax laws or influencing to adjust tax laws, which might be benefiting wealthy individuals or companies as well. But the goal is to circulate the wealth of our quite a few mass affluent population here. So those are the real objectives. And also, people often say that we are promoting urbanization, right? Tokyo is already concentrated enough, and which is not good for coping with pandemic as well. This is not what we are trying to do. Tokyo is the capital of Japan, i.e., in other words, heart of Japan, pumping bloodstream throughout the economy as well. So regional economy would be also benefited from the Tokyo Financial Center initiatives as well. Okay, next page. Here's the membership, right? We have been supported by quite a few both public and private members. Tokyo Metropolitan government is actually supporting us from a funding perspective. They have been providing funding for activities more than 50%, but from a voting perspective, they have only one voting right. And we have been supported by quite a few diversified members, including universities, and not only banking and capital market, but also insurance and fintech startup firms as well. So if you're interested, you're more than welcome to join our membership. Okay, next page. So this is a kind of supporting system or mechanisms available for you. It's quite overwhelming, right? There are so many acronyms. I'm not going to spend time to spell out each of those acronyms as well. But there are quite a few useful resources available. Many of them are free of charge, right? So our intention is to help you as much as we can to for your market entry and also integration to our existing ecosystem as well. However, the challenge is that it's very complex, right? So oftentimes you may not know whom to ask and how to contact, to what extent they can support you, right? So our role is to basically navigate you to the right contact persons or right institutions based upon your questions. And secondly, you may be frustrated. Quite frankly, those supports or institutions are not necessarily seamless or coherent either. We are still working on it. So if you have any challenges or experiencing any bottleneck, we can help to the bottleneck and also make our support systems much more efficient and useful for you as well. Okay, next page. Keiichi, next page. Okay. No. Go back to the previous page. Okay, here. So last year. Okay, go back. Next page. Keiichi, next page. Yes, stay here. Don't move. We have conducted quite a few events. Oftentimes we try to make a trip to other financial centers to promote Tokyo or explain what we can do and to explain how we can support. But due to the pandemic, COVID-19, we could not make a trip over the last 1 year or so. However, we have organized those events through online tools, and as a result, we have reached out to more than 1 million participants worldwide as well. So this was quite interesting because if we visit many cities, there's no way we can meet or interact with more than 1 million people as well. So if you join or if you work with us, good thing is that you can reach out to more than 1 million people, right? So that's a quite powerful way to get yourself integrated with not only with Japan but also international stakeholders. Okay, next page. So how can you get involved? First of all, stay through the end of this event, including the breakout sessions for networking. We have breakout rooms on Zoom, so you can have more meaningful interaction with other participants and also like speakers. Second, please follow our social media and retweet or forward our messages. We have been sharing a lot of useful information, interesting information as well. And my colleague Ryoichi Yotsuyanagi has been also translating some of the Japanese news into English and Mandarin as well. So there's a lot of interesting and useful information, and we like you to also like retweet or forward what we have been saying, or if you think useful. Encourage your friends and colleagues to join our events. And then fourth, provide any suggestions or recommendation to us so that we can put together policy recommendations on an anonymous basis, right? And also, like lastly but not least, consider joining a membership. You can work with us without being a member, but we have quite a few, communication, exclusive for members. It doesn't mean that we don't want to communicate with non-members, but we organize that a monthly event to discuss and share the latest events and policy recommendations among membership as well. Okay, so those are the things we have been suggesting to, and also it's great to have you involved. Next page. So basically, this is my brief introduction, and here's a QR code for our social media. So make sure that you scan this and join our SNS as well. Thank you very much for listening, and enjoy this event. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Aritomo. Now I'd like to hand it over to Mr. Takuma Tanaka, who's the Deputy Director, Strategy Development Division at the Financial Services Agency of Japan. We'll be talking today about the Financial Center Japan initiative. Thank you, Mr. Tanaka.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Thank you. So how I look now is probably different from the photo presented, isn't it? Yeah, I've got my haircut. Hope everyone can recognize me. Although my hairstyle changes, the quality of my presentation will not change, so stay tuned until the end. Okay, now I'm ready. Can everyone see the slide? Okay.
Yes, no problem.
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. First, I'd like to thank the FinCity.Tokyo for inviting me to this webinar. I'm Takuma Tanaka from JFSA, Japan's Financial Services Agency, leading the International Financial Center Initiative. That is in a project for Japan to play greater roles in the global financial markets. Before diving into the details of our initiative, I would like to begin with some context. The Financial Center Initiative is a top priority for Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga. He stated in his policy speech, quote, we will welcome finance sector professionals from overseas, aiming to be a financial center for Asia and even a global financial center. He also mentioned 3 government responses to be taken immediately, namely, 1. Decrease tax burdens of overseas financial professionals. 2. Expand English administrative services to eliminate Japanese communication with regulators. 3. Relax residential status requirements to make life in Japan much easier. This is actually the very first time for the Japanese government push the internationalization of the financial sector as a cross-ministerial initiative, unlike previous attempts done the financial authority alone. So this time is truly different from the past. In the following slide, I will focus on how the initiative will benefit overseas asset managers. To start from Japan's households, on your left, they have a lot of cash, nearly 10 trillion US dollars. On your right, the assets under management have almost doubled in the past 10 years. On institutional investors in Japan, on your left, they have been increasing investment to alternative assets while reducing investment in domestic bonds. You see one example on your right. Japan's GPIF, Government Pension Investment Fund, has dramatically increased alternative investment from 0 10 years ago to nearly 9 million US dollars in 2020. In short, not only households, but also institutional investors have been seeking new opportunities for investment. From a non-finance angle, living in Japan will enhance the quality of life of employees. First, it is safe, which however does not mean boring. No city in the world has more Michelin-starred restaurants than Tokyo. Both work and play will never make you a dull boy here. From here, I'll talk about our new policy package. To start with financial regulation. 2 new simplified market procedures specifically targeted at overseas asset managers are expected to enter into force this November. These schemes are much more simplified than the existing registration procedure required under the Financial Instruments and Exchange Act. The first one on your left, known as pre-registration entry scheme, is designed for those with proven track records in overseas and authorized in specified foreign jurisdictions. The second one is designed for overseas investment managers whose clients are mainly foreign professional investors, such as foreign corporations or wealthy foreign individuals. JFSA established the Financial Market Entry Office this January, which is a one-stop English contact for newly entering asset management firms. It provides professional English support from pre-application consultation to registration and supervision. In other words, no communication and no materials in Japanese are necessary for registration. So far, 3 firms have completed the all-in-English registration process. It took 3 months or shorter for these cases. The first firm is Affirmative Investment Management Japan. We recently publicized an interview with its president, Mr. Kojima. Mr. Kojima explains, quote, "I was prepared for a long-term battle, but when I actually went through the process, it was a groundless fear. I heard Mr. Stefan Fitzgerald, managing partner of Affirmative Investment Management, will attend the panel later today. Probably he'll also share experiences in a more detailed manner. Of course, the length of the preparation and the legislation procedure differ depending on your preparation, but we do our best to provide a process as smooth as possible." The next topic is about tax. We worked together with the tax authority to make bold tax reforms. On individual income tax, the tax treatment of distributed profits of carried interest was unclear. Now, we have clarified that distributed profits of carried interest are taxed at 20% independently as capital gain, rather than at 55% in the highest tax bracket as part of the progressive aggregate personal income taxation. On corporate income tax, the recent division will enable unlisted non-family companies to deduct the performance-based compensation of directors from their tax base. This will be expected to enter into force this November. On inheritance tax, based on the tax reform this April, when a person with a valid Japanese working visa dies here, his or her assets outside of Japan can be exempt from Japan's inheritance tax for heirs outside of Japan, no matter how long the decedent has worked in Japan. Moving on to the topic of residential status. You need to obtain residential status when you want to live and work in Japan. Here, the highly skilled foreign professional status is available for you. You are qualified if your points exceed 70. Your points are calculated based on your income, university degrees, job experience, and so on and so forth. Let's consider a hypothetical case. If your income exceeds 100K, you get 40 points. If you have a master's degree, then you get 20 points. A new bonus category, which is 10 points, is added for asset management businesses. So here, 40 plus 20 plus 10, your points are now 70, meaning that you qualify. This is how it works. There are several preferential treatments under this status. For instance, you can hire domestic helpers and nannies from outside of Japan. And your spouse can also work full-time without obtaining a visa independently. This year, JFSA has commissioned our private business partner, Trico Japan, to undertake the Financial Startup Support Program, which provides support for business setup free of charge. Of course, starting a new asset management business involves many steps other than financial regulation, which are in many cases time-consuming and require the communication in Japanese, we know. The program offers English support not only for financial license application, but also for compliance officer recruitment, incorporation, visa application, bank account opening, which all come with the reimbursement of the costs in the end. The maximum amount for the reimbursement per one company, is set at 20 million yen, approximately 180K in US dollars. If you are seeking to launch an asset management business in Japan, this is the perfect program. So please apply before our budget is used up. The last is about public relations. Our website posts a wide variety of information beyond what I have covered today. In addition, our financial market entry office is ready to respond to your specific inquiries. Last, not the least, this is important. If you are interested in the financial startup support program, which I mentioned just now, I would highly encourage you to contact the office as soon as possible. So this is all I have today. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Tanaka. Moving on, next we will have Mr. Yuzuru Shumiya, who's the Director for Global Financial City Tokyo, Strategic Projects Division in the Office of the Governor for Policy Planning, who will speak about Tokyo's initiatives and policies as well as supports for foreign companies. Thank you, Mr. Shumiya.
Hello, everyone. I'm Yuzuru Shumiya from the Tokyo Metropolitan Government. Thank you very much for joining FinCity.Tokyo 2021 Global Networking event first today. The world is currently struggling with COVID-19, and Tokyo is also facing this crisis. The Tokyo Metropolitan Government, TMG, is implementing various measures from the perspective of sustainable recovery in order to overcome the COVID-19 crisis and looking ahead to sustainable growth in the post-pandemic world. As a result of these measures, Tokyo aims to become a city which will be chosen by the worldwide overseas companies, with achieving the goals such as expansion of the green finance market. In addition, the global environment surrounding global finance is currently undergoing dramatic changes. Under such circumstances, Tokyo is focusing on attracting foreign financial companies related to asset management and fintech businesses in an effort to realize the position as the world's leading global financial city. So that we can fully support you, the TMG is providing assistance that meets your needs at each stage of your business lifestyle. From now on, I am going to use slides to provide explanations. Please, first slide. Number one, financial one-stop support service from the Business Development Center Tokyo provides a wide range of free advice on everything from business to daily life. Financial desk consultants who respond to your inquiries have good command of English. They also possess abundant knowledge and experience in the financial business, as they have been engaged in the financial business at home and abroad for many years. Moreover, They can refer you to the specialists such as lawyers and other professionals with financial expertise if necessary. It is free of charge, no matter how many times you consult with them. So please feel free to contact them. And also, they are also collaborating with the Financial Market Entry Office of the Financial Service Agency. You may contact either the Financial One-Stop Support Service or the Financial Market Entry Office to receive comprehensive support because these two offices are linked together. Furthermore, if you need to go through administrative procedures to set up a business in Tokyo, please consult with the Tokyo One-Stop Business Establishment Center in number 2. You can get all the paperwork done through a one-stop service and free of charge at this center. Slide 2, please. Next, the Tokyo Financial Award is an initiative to enhance convenience for Tokyo residents and vitalize finance industry. In this award, the Financial Innovation category awards financial businesses that develop and provide innovative financial products and services, which contribute to solving the needs and challenges of residents and businesses in Tokyo. Another category, the ESG investment category, awards businesses that are promoting ESG investments. Applications are open until August 31st for the Financial Innovation category and until September 28th for the ESG investment category. Please check our website and SNS for more details about the Tokyo Financial Award. The project for temporary office allocation for foreign financial companies and human resources in number 4 supports temporary stay in Tokyo for preliminary research, etc. of foreign financial companies who are considering establishing a new office in Tokyo. The project subsidizes the rent of the certified office up to 300,000 yen per month for the maximum of 3 months periods, and also subsidizes initial costs up to 200,000 yen. This slide, the Overseas Financial Corporation Business Establishment Subsidy Program in number 5 is designed to partially subsidize the expenses required for foreign financial companies to establish a new business base in Tokyo. The upper limit is half of the actual expenses eligible for the subsidy, up to 7.5 million yen. Next slide. The subsidy to support base of operations of Overseas Financial Corporation in number 6 is designed to subsidize a part of the expenses necessary for promotion growth of business for foreign financial companies in their second or third year of operation in Tokyo. The upper limit is half of the actual expenses eligible for the subsidy, up to 10 million yen. Finally, the TMG is set to launch a new program this fiscal year to offer subsidies for up to 4 years to fintech companies and asset management companies working on green finance. Last slide, please. To conclude, the TMG offers a variety of support programs in addition to the program I mentioned so far. If you are interested in any of the program, please feel free to contact the Financial One-Stop Support Service by phone or email. For more information, please visit the Invest Tokyo's website, which can be accessed by using the QR code on the screen. Thank you very much for your attention. Please enjoy next seminar. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shumiya. Next up, I'd like to hand over to Mr. Makoto Shibata, who is the Chief Community Officer at FINOLAB, a Tokyo-based company focused on promoting fintech innovation and the development of fintech startups. Thank you, Mr. Shibata.
Thank you for the introduction. I would like to start my slide. Right. So I hope you can see my slide.
Yes,
so
it's
I'm
ready. Thank you.
Yes. So I just would like to start from the key fintech figures in Tokyo. There are more than 600 startups, fintech startups in Tokyo, and moreover, there are more than 100 bank head offices in Tokyo, which would make a big opportunity for fintech startups to collaborate with. And also, last year, we've observed more than 700 million US dollar equivalent fintech investment. And also, there are more than 100 innovation labs. And as you already heard from Financial Service Agency and the Tokyo Metropolitan government, they are very enthusiastic about supporting the fintech community and also the entry of a foreign financial service player into a Tokyo market. And other than public offices, legal experts, startups, investors, academic institutions, financial institutions, they are all increasingly involved to promote fintech ecosystem. And in particular, startups and financial institutions, incumbents, are collaborating to promote digital transformation. After the pandemic, financial institutions are trying desperately to promote digital transformation because the customer may not come to a branch office and they need to shift to a digital channel. And also they need to eliminate paper-based business processes to move to a digital transaction and digital process all the way. So they are trying to look for a solution from startups, and we see a big business opportunities expanding in this area. And also the community in Tokyo is expanding. From startup side, FINOLAB is located in Otemachi in Fintech Association, FinGate, Plug and Play Japan, Tokyo Fintech Meetup, Fintech Engineer Community in InsurTech Meetup. All these startup community with some of them have a physical office, some of them are virtual, but they are expanding. And also financial institutions are starting their own community, Spark Digital, Japan Digital Design by MUFG, and Adventure Lab by Noreen Chuking, MiseiX, Diagonal Round, Blue Labs, Snowbar, Hoops Link Tokyo, and N-Village. All these are expanding. And it's quite important that most of these are located within 5 kilometers in central Tokyo. And for those considering market entry to Tokyo, you typically go through these processes, starting from feasibility study and physical entry with the company registration, and then actually start a business development. And throughout these processes, you can look for support from public offices or professionals or financial institutions or business partner. But it is quite important to know that there are many support if you join the community, and you can learn from others what they've gone through. And I think this is a very important element of fintech ecosystem expanding in Tokyo. And FINOLAB is a fintech community with physical office, and we have like 50 startup members and 20 corporate members. And after this, you will hear the experience of Red Compass, which was given support by us. So thank you very much, and I hope you will consider coming to Tokyo. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shibata. We will now move to the panel discussion. So I'd like to hand over to Ms. Naomi Takegoshi, the Relationship Manager at FinCity.Tokyo, who will be the moderator for this session. Given that we're running slightly over time, we will also allow the panel event to continue to sort of 5:05 or 5:10. Thank you, Ms. Takegoshi.
Thank you, Lance, for the introduction. It's a great pleasure to welcome representatives of foreign firms who've actually made it to Tokyo. They've set up an office in Tokyo recently to hear about their experiences. So we are being joined today by Mr. Stephen Fitzgerald from Affirmative Investment Management. You're speaking from London, I gather. And we also have Mr. Sergei Diakov from TKO Investment Management. And we have Mr. Keiichi from Red Compass Lab. So the purpose of this panel is for the panelists to share their experiences in their journey on setting up in Tokyo and the support they've received on their way of setting up in Tokyo. So, shall we kick off? I would now like to ask each panelist to give a short intro about themselves and their companies. So can we start from Stephen, please?
Thanks, Takegoshi-san, and thank you very much to FinCity for inviting us to present this morning. I'm delighted to be here talking to you all. I'd also like to say that I'm joined by my colleague Mitsuo Kojima, who is president of Affirmative Investment Management in Japan. And Kojima-san will be available in terms of contacts as well as myself. Just by way of background, I am the managing partner of Affirmative Investment Management. Prior to that, I spent most of my working career at Goldman Sachs, including a period of time running the investment management division for Asia for Goldman Sachs, but based out of Tokyo and living in Japan. And I certainly would concur with Tanaka-san from the FSA. It is a terrific place to live. And I'm looking forward to COVID restrictions finishing and being able to travel back to Japan, which I do many times in a year. Affirmative Investment Management is a specialist impact debt manager. And what does that mean? That means that we invest in debt securities, so bonds, fixed income securities, which produce mainstream returns, but also produce positive environmental and or social outcomes. So we invest in green bonds, social bonds, and sustainability bonds. And then we evidence the outcomes through our impact reporting. And impact reporting is a key differentiator for Affirmative Investment Management, and we've won a number of awards for our impact reporting. So we are an investment management company focused on returns, but also positive environmental and or social outcomes. We are largely employee owned, but last year we announced a partnership with SMBC in Japan, and SMBC are our partner in Japan, and they are also now a shareholder in Affirmative Investment Management. And I'll talk about why Japan's so important a little later. Takegoshi-san. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Shall we then move on to Sergey, please?
Yes, thank you, Takegoshi-san, and thank you, Tokyo Financial City, for inviting us to be part of this session today. My name is Sergey Diakov. I'm Japan Country Manager for TKO Investment Management Japan. Personally, I have been around in Japan for 13 years now and previously worked at Citigroup in Tokyo and Rogers Investment Advisors. I have been with TKO Investment Management since the inception of Japan office in 2019. TKO Investment Management is an investment management arm of TKO Capital, which is an alternative investment management group created in France in 2008 and currently present with offices in 12 countries, mostly covering Europe, covering most of the Western European countries where we source our deals, but also having presence in New York and importantly in Asia. In Asia, the first office which was opened was in Singapore in 2012, followed by an office in Korea, and in 2019 followed by an office in Japan. And we have in total over 600 people now in all offices across the globe. TKO Capital, the parent company, is a listed entity, and as a group, we are close to 31 billion euro in assets under management now, and investing and managing a wide range of alternative investment strategies, including private debt, for which we're quite famous in Europe, being the largest French direct lending manager, including real assets, that is infrastructure and real estate, and also private equity and capital market strategies. We also have a number of high-profile strategic partners around the globe, and in Japan specifically, we work very closely with T&D Insurance Group and T&D Asset Management. So, thank you, Takegoshi-san.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sergey-san. Thank you. Next, may I please ask Umemura-san to give an intro?
Thank you, Takeguchi-san. First of all, thank you very much for this opportunity. It's very happy to have the chance to share our experience. And my name is Umemura. I joined Red Compass 3 years ago after I spent almost 30 years in one of the Japanese mega banks. And I spent almost 2 years in London and just came back Japan last year during the COVID pandemic, and just took the assignment of the director of the Red Compass Japan. Let me introduce the Red Compass Japan, Red Compass business outline here. Red Compass was established almost 20 years ago. Started a business in UK as a consultancy specialized in payment system and project consulting. And about the recent couple of years, we are pivoting our strategy to cover the business with the data analytics technology, but still remain still keeping as a relevant to the payment systems and the data. So we, as I said, that Red Compass started the business from UK, but a couple of years ago we established a Poland entity, mainly as a technology hub, and also this year we established other entities in Belgium and Singapore, and also here in Tokyo. At the moment, we are focusing to 2 areas right now. Firstly, we are going to offering the game-changing data analytics test solutions, which is called D1R, and it helps banks to deliver the payment systems safely, faster, and cheaper. That's the first area we are focusing. And the second one is it's relevant to financial crime, anti-financial crime. but we are providing the comprehensive typology and the analytics platform and services for the bank to accelerate the banks to find the evidence of the modern slavery and child sexual exploitation in the payment data. Those are the current focus of our business, and that's thank you for very much.
Thank you, Mamura-san. Yeah, so before we move on, just a reminder that we can take questions through the chat box, or after this panel, there will be the breakout session where you can actually speak to the panelists in breakout rooms. So please bear that in mind. Okay, so let's move on to our next question. Could you please share with us what drove you to look at Japan as a market? So yeah, in the same order from Stephen, please.
Would you like me to?
Yeah, yes, please. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Affirmative investment management is predominantly based in the UK, although we have an office in Australia as well. But we had already, prior to establishing our office in Japan, had already won a number of clients in Japan through our partnership in Europe with Lombard Odier. Japan is a market we know well, and for debt investors or debt investment managers, it is one of the largest opportunities globally. As Tanaka-san said, a very significant proportion of Japanese financial assets are invested in non-domestic debt or non-domestic fixed income. So from a financial perspective, a very, very important market opportunity in terms of attracting investors into the type of portfolios that we run. In addition to that, more recently, Japan has seen a very significant increase in the issuance side of green bonds in particular. And so it is also a significant opportunity for us to deploy capital into yen or non-yen issues that are issued by Japanese institutions or governments. So both from the investor side and also from the ability to deploy capital, Japan is becoming increasingly important for affirmative. And probably the most important thing, and a really significant change in investing behavior in Japan, and probably the most significant in the sort of 25 years plus that I've certainly been coming to Japan and working with both institutional and individual investors, is Japanese investors, both individual through mutual funds and institutional, have really embraced sustainable finance and green finance in particular. So we see Japan as becoming a leader in green and sustainable finance, and we want to be part of that and facilitating that, deploying capital and managing money for Japanese investors.
Thank you very much. So yeah, it seems that your business has first been looking more at sourcing Japanese capital to overseas investment opportunities, but now you're also looking at Japan as originator for green sustainable products. So a real broadening of dimension of your relationship with the Japanese financial industry. Thank you. So let's ask the same question to Sergey, please. What motivated TKO to look at Japan as a market?
Yes, thank you, Takeyoshi-san. So we're very similar, and we also focus at present at raising capital, sourcing capital from Japanese institutional investors. And indeed, we've all seen the numbers from Tanaka-san, and Japan is home to some of the largest capital allocators in the world, hundreds of large pension funds, billions of dollars allocated each year. And for TKO Capital, for many years, our client base has traditionally been in Europe, but in recent years, actually, the amount of capital sourced outside of Europe has grown significantly. And we thought that, Japan is a market that we could not miss. And to reach out efficiently to allocators based in Japan, you need either very strong local partners or local presence. And there are some advantages to having local presence in the market. And I would say the main advantage is commitment. Japan is a very relationship-based society, and opening an office in Tokyo sends a very strong message to your Japanese LPs. We're here for the long term. We're really committed to this market. We're not just a, kind of fly in, fly out, raise money and sort of then forget the type of manager. Also, if you're local here on the ground, marketing in Japan is obviously a licensed activity. So it's a large undertaking. You need to get local licenses. But on the flip side, you can also be close to your LPs, and the expectations from your LPs on the customer service are extremely high. Japanese investors are some of the world's most demanding and detail-oriented investors. So being in close proximity to them, being able to speak the same language with them is a very, very essential part of being able to build a good functioning relationship with them. So these have been all the considerations for us. We're also aware of tremendous investment opportunities. However, at present, we focus on European strategies, and we're not considering deployment any capital in Japan, but this may certainly change in the future.
Thank you very much, Sergey. And your point about commitment, that has come across very strongly. Thank you. Let me please ask the same question now to Memura-san as to why Red Compass looked at the Japanese market, please.
Thank you, Takuma-san. Maybe I should start with the historical background, business background of the Red Compass. But as I mentioned, the Red Compass started the business in UK. But interestingly, we had a long history of the business relationship with the Japanese megabanks in London. So, we always felt that we need to strengthen the relationship with the Japanese megabanks, not only locally in UK, but also the people who is in the headquarters in Tokyo. But before COVID, it could be done by the business trip basis. But after the COVID, the story is totally changed, because we cannot go back and forth frequently. And also, because of the project we supporting in UK is getting more globally, not just close to the regional. So in that sense, we also we felt more to strengthen the relationship with Tokyo. In that sense, as Sergey said, same as what mentioned by Sergey, that has a commitment. From showing the commitment perspective, it is very good to have the offices in Tokyo. That's the first point. And maybe second point is that it's also because of the COVID pandemic. But after we found the COVID situation last year, that we really felt the importance of the operational resilience, because some of the vendors or consultancies facing the difficulties to keep the providing the service as usual because of the lockdown situation in the countries. So we felt the necessity to diversify our resource allocation, not just in UK or Poland, but also we need to distribute formation of the human resources. That's a second point. And so from that point of view, Japan is situated in a very good location, good position, because before COVID, we already started to explore the business opportunity in Asian market, which is very growing rapidly. So Tokyo is in the same time zone. So if we put the resources here, it could provide the support to Asian engagement as well. And also, we thought that we can expect to acquire the skilled resources of the Japanese quality in Japan, which is very accurate and also detail oriented. So that's a very the good point, good position for the Japanese resource market. That's a second point. And also, last but not least, of course, we also see the opportunities business in local, other than 3 mega banks in local financial with the local financial institutions, and also the maybe fintech companies as well. And so our D1R solution, data technology solutions, is quite. We believe it could be very helpful for them as well. So those 3 are the main drivers for us to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for the very thorough explanation. It's also interesting to note the point about Tokyo kind of being the business development center for the wider Asian business opportunities. Right, so which takes us to the very crucial question of what support you received as you set up your office here in Tokyo, and how that has helped you you progress your plans and launch your business here. So yeah, we'll go through the same order. Can we please start with Stephen, please?
Thank you very much. Well, I would start by saying Affirmative Investment Management is a relatively small firm. We are very specialist in what we do and leading the movement to green and sustainable finance, but a small firm with limited Japanese language skills until we hired Kojima-san and our compliance officer in Japan. And as Sergei said, what we do in Japan is a licensed activity, and therefore obtaining our investment management license for Japan was critical to us. And so we worked with the Financial Market Entry Office, which Tanaka-san described, and worked with them in English to obtain our license. And I would say that the process was very thorough, the due diligence very detailed, which is really important to maintain the high standards of the market and the integrity of the market. But it was also conducted in a very short time frame. And we went from our first meetings with the Financial Market Entry Office to obtaining the license that we needed in just over 2 months, which is in any context in the world is incredible. And they were the team were very proactive in making sure we had all the information, the correct information, and the follow-up was very was thorough, but swift. And so we were really pleased with the support we got from the FSA to allow us to get our license and begin to build our business in Japan.
Thank you very much, Stephen. So you're the first case, I believe, of a foreign asset management firm that was supported under the new team by JFSA. And it was good to hear it was indeed swift and very efficient. So yeah, can I please ask Sergei the same question, please, about the support you got?
Thank you, Takegoshi-san. I'm listening to all the presentations today, and I'm very envious that when we started 2 years ago, the current very framework was not in place in the same.
Indeed.
Elements, however, were there already, but I think now it's much more defined and easy to use. But for us, in essence, the process can be divided in 2 stages. So the first part is actually before I came on board, and the work was done by my colleagues from France with no people on the ground here in Japan. And at that time, we were guided by Accenture, which I believe was helping Tokyo Metropolitan government at the time, late 2018. And all the groundwork for creation of the local company was done at the time. So we got introductions to local law firms, corporate law, to set up the local entity in Japan. We got introductions to local accounting service providers. We use outsourced services for payroll, tax calculations, and so on. We got introductions to banks and assistance in opening bank account detail. And very importantly, also, we got introduction to our first office space provider. So when I joined the company, which was on the day the legal entity was created and opened, I had a brand new office in JETRO in Ark Hills here in Japan External Trade Organization, which we actually got free of charge for 3 months, which was amazing. So with me coming on board, we started working on obtaining the Type 2 license and the investment advisory license. And we also hired a Japanese local compliance officer. At that time, the documents had to be prepared in Japanese. We've worked with Morgan Lewis, a specialized law firm, and they were very helpful in preparing the documents for us in Japanese. But also, and I speak, read, and write in Japanese, so I could handle this here locally. But we also needed to keep our own people in the loop in Paris, and the law firm at that time very helpfully prepared English copies for our team, which is now redundant because the entire process exists in Japanese. Also, with the assistance of the Tokyo Metropolitan Government, we got introduction to FSA, Counter Local Finance Bureau. That's our regulator. And I have to say, you know, I tell stories about how long it takes, which is required. But we found the process to be very smooth. Both these parties came up with actually very helpful suggestions along the way related to our corporate governance and so on. And in our case, it took us 127 days to obtain the license. And I think if we didn't have to go back and forth in English, also back and forth with our office, it would have been a much quicker process as well. And then we moved into a shared office space in Marunouchi. And last year, actually, we were able to move into our own office space here. We were eligible for various subsidies from Tokyo Metropolitan Government, certainly the one covering the initial cost of professional services. In our case, that was mostly spent on the license application and the personnel recruitment. And we were also eligible for the subsidy for the office rent and furniture and that kind of setup, which is also great help at this stage. And last but not least, but also like to mention this sort of, you know, once everything is done and dusted, you know, the continuing support from the Tokyo Metropolitan Government, you know, the regular seminars where we get an opportunity to speak and present the company in front of an audience of Japanese asset managers and people in the financial industry, and also an opportunity to participate in the Tokyo Financial Award, the ESG investment category. We've participated twice. And we're planning to win it next time. So I think these things are also great for the visibility going forward once everything is up and running.
Thank you, Sergey. Sounds like a comprehensive menu of Tokyo support, and good to hear that you were really able to make full use of it. Yes. I noticed there's some background sound. So the viewers, please make sure that you're on mute. 聞いてらっしゃる方、すいません、ミュートでお願いいたします。ちょっと背景音が少し入ってるみたいです。Okay, can we please move now to Memura-san about the support you received from Tokyo and also your experience in FINOLAB, please.
Okay, thank you. So maybe I should touch upon the chronologically from the beginning, but at the very early stage of our journey, that I could contact JETRO in UK, and also I could get very basic information, reference information, and also the free general kind of consultation by professional services. But there's a very high level consultation, but we can kind of frame the overall path to the establishing the company here in Tokyo. That's the very first stage of my journey. And after that, I could contact the FINOLAB, Shibata-san presented earlier, and that was before landing UK, landed in Japan, but we could get the FINOLAB's help in a many ways. Firstly, for us, the community and the office space was very attractive for us. It kind of we also saw checked the other kind of shared office, but FINOLAB is kind of very dedicated to the financial industry, so it gave us kind of the easiness to move in, and also we can expect as a connection, a future connection, a business connection to those community members. That was very helpful for us to make a decision about the office or location. That's the one thing. And also they gave us the very flexible arrangement of to starting up the membership. We firstly we could start quickly by the hot desk membership, and then we move into the current office after that. But there's no any kind of issues to such like changing the address or something like that. So that was very convenient for us. And on top of that, they suggested that available external support, which is I will touch upon about Tokyo Metropolitan government subsidies. And also they introduced us to the lawyer specialized in the financial industry and the fintech business. Those all are very helpful for us, and also very should be helpful for other people who is not familiar with the Japanese environment. So I should move on to the Tokyo government's Metropolitan government subsidies. It is already mentioned by Sergey earlier, but we also could get approval of such subsidies, which is temporary rent support, and also the support for the cost of the professional services, like administrative lawyer for the company registration, and also the establishing the creating the employment contract or such kind of advisory from social insurance specialist. Such kind of cost could be supported by that subsidy. That was really helpful for us because we needed to move on to this establish the business under the very invisible as a future under the COVID situation. So that's or probably, or we also applying to the another subsidy for this year. So we are looking for that kind of support from now on as well. That's all from my side.
Thank you very much, Mimura-san. Yes, so this we have completed all the questions that we wanted to ask you. So I'd like to thank the panelists for very generously sharing their experiences. I'm sure a lot of people who are contemplating about coming to Japan, they feel very encouraged. So thanks very much. And with FinCity.Tokyo and associated partners, look forward to servicing companies through their journey and accessing these support programs. So thank you very much to the panelists. And I shall now hand over to Lance on further events and other announcements.
Thank you so much, Naomi. And thank you again to our speakers for their insights. So we'd now like to provide an update regarding FinCity.Tokyo's upcoming events and other programs for this financial year. In terms of seminars, there are 3 more remaining for this year, which will allow foreign financial companies to pitch to their Japanese counterparts. The event on September 30th is targeting fintech companies, specifically focused on the insurtech industry and will allow foreign fintech companies to pitch to Japanese financial institutions, particularly insurance companies. The event in October will also target fintech companies and will allow foreign fintech companies to pitch to Japanese financial institutions, which is focused sort of outside of the insurtech industry. Finally, there will be another pitching event in November, this time targeting asset management companies, and this will allow foreign asset management companies to pitch to Japanese asset owners. In terms of registration for all three events, this will occur via Eventbrite and PTIX. Details for the September event will be posted soon, and you will also receive invitations to your email addresses that you use to register for this event today. Finally, in terms of pitch presenters, nominations for the pitch event will be announced soon. Thank you. And so moving on now to FinCity.Tokyo's monthly newsletter publishing schedule. This just lists the publishing schedule for the remainder of the financial year. The newsletter for this month has already been issued today and is accessible via the QR code in the upper right-hand corner. Moving on, previous FinCity.Tokyo newsletters from FY 2020 can also be accessed via the FinCity.Tokyo website. Thank you. In terms of contact details for today's speakers, as previously mentioned, these will be shared with participants today once you have filled in the survey for today's event. So we ask you to please take a few minutes of your time to do that. Thank you. So as mentioned, the survey will pop up automatically once you leave the event. So please fill that out. And as mentioned, you'll receive a link once you've completed the survey to download the material from today's event, including contact details for speakers. So moving on to our Q&A session first for our panelists. Again, this will be moderated by Naomi. So Naomi, let me hand over to you. Thank you.
Okay. As far as I can see, there's just one question for the panelists, which is actually direct to Stephen and Sergey about which license type you applied for.
So yes, so we applied for the Type 4 license and received that in Japan, a license which allows us to partner with SMBC, but not to directly manage money in Japan yet. We manage all of our assets centrally in London.
So it's the investment advisory license?
Correct.
Okay. It's the same question to Sergey.
Yes, we've applied and received Type 2 license, which allows us to market in Japan our strategies, which are in a sort of a limited partnership form, so in form of partnership interests rather than shares. And we also have an investment management, investment advisory license, which is strictly speaking not sort of first priority for us, but it makes easier to interact with domestic Japanese asset managers. And as I mentioned, in our case, it took 127 days to get both licenses.
Yeah, and we have a question for Mr. Umemura. How did FINOLAB's community contribute to expanding your connections in Japan?
Okay, yeah, I should say that at the moment we are kind of focused as a first step of our business in Tokyo. We are right now focusing to the strengthening the relationship with 3 mega banks. Those are the existing client. So we are going to we also has a looking for the future such kind of expansion of network from the FINOLAB community members.
Thank you very much. I think that covers the questions for panelists. So, and I gather there are a few questions to some of the speakers, the previous speakers.
Yes, thank you for that. Thank you for that, Naomi.
Yeah, let's just move on to the question to speakers then, and then we can probably go to the breakout session.
Sounds good. So the questions that we received are all directed to FinCity.Tokyo. First question, does it cost anything to join FinCity.Tokyo? And question number 2, what is the process for joining FinCity.Tokyo? So if a representative from FinCity.Tokyo is able to answer, that would be great. Thank you.
So that would be a question for Aritomo-san.
Yes.
Yes, Aritomo-san, would you like to answer the question on the membership and the process for joining?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So we're gonna send you application. Application form is available from our website as well. So once we receive our application, we will share with our members, existing members, and discuss whether or not to accommodate into our existing membership community as well. So nobody has been rejected yet, but we still have to go through this process, governance process as well. So after this event, you can go ahead and download either in Japanese or English, or our secretariat will be able to send you the application form. Okay.
Yeah, and I think the person was also asking about the membership fee, and we have 3 different tranches.
Naomi,
Yeah, I can talk about that. Okay, for the membership fee, we have 3 different categories. There is a category for startup companies, which is often chosen by foreign firms who've just set up in Japan incorporation, and that costs 100,000 yen for a year. That's the annual membership. And there is also a category for associate members, which is 1 million yen per year, and a full member, which will be entitled to send a board person to the board of board meeting for FinCity. That is 3 million yen per year. I hope I got it right.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Great. Thank you for that, Naomi, and thank you to all of our questioners. We'd now like to begin the networking session. So you'll be able to enter breakout rooms via the breakout room icon, which should now have popped up on your screens. You'll find 4 different rooms, each hosted by today's speakers. So please, without further ado, feel free to go in and join those rooms. After that, we will conclude the event. So thank you for your time.